How do you decide what to spend your time on?
You have to look at what your goals are, and the activities have to align with the outcomes that you're looking for. And that can change depending on what your goals are. So, for example, when we started Go Brewing, we didn't have any real enterprise value, but my vision was to create enterprise value, but we had to start somewhere. I'll just give you an example. In our tap room, I would make frozen pizza. When a guitar player came in to sing, I would connect their audio, and I would do all these things that over time I knew wasn't adding values to the business per se, but it was really critical to have a good customer experience, which then generated a feeling like, oh, I really like this place. And that's really all we had. So you have to look at what your goals are at any given point in time, and then audit kind of what you're doing to make sure that you are doing the things that are going to provide value in the business in the way that you want.
Can you say a little bit more about how you're defining enterprise value?
Yeah. So enterprise value, I would say, is it's going to be different for every company. In our case, like I want to build a national beverage company. So if I am not doing the activities to build a valuable company and I'm spending them elsewhere, then I'm not making the best use of my time. So kind of going back to that example, if I could spend time building a marketing campaign that's a national marketing campaign, or making frozen pizzas, what am I better off doing? So you have to make a conscious choice. And I would say that anytime you say yes to something, you say no to something else. We have only a fixed amount of time throughout the day. Now, the catch here is we all, myself included, we gravitate toward the things that we like. I love like building campaigns and doing like things like that. And those are pretty valuable, which I'm lucky enough to be able to be decent at. However, there are some things that I need to get done that are even higher priority than that in a given day, and I need to focus on those. So every day I wake up and I'm like, okay, what are the things I have to get done today to create the most enterprise value of today for the business? Like if the business was great on today, like what did I spend my time on?
Yeah. Do you look at it as like, what do I need to get done because I'm the only one that can do this, or that I'm the only one that can do it right now? Or like, how do you maintain the right perspective to know you're giving the right answer?
I didn't know you were going to ask that question. So I don't matter how to sales is always like, I say a lot like good question.
Yeah.
Because we don't really come up with these questions ahead of time. But I will say I do really like that question, because what I became conscious of is if someone's waiting for me to do something, yet they're trying to accomplish a task and I'm the blocker, I have to prioritize that.
Yeah.
And that goes through your entire team. So like if I can delegate some of this work, that's my priority for the day. Like delegate it. Why? Because if I wait until noon to delegate that work, it's probably not going to get done, or it's going to get pushed off, versus if I focus on it early and I spend my time delegating everything that needs to be delegated, then I focus on my stuff. Now I have 5 people or so working on these things. And at the end of the day, we've accomplished 5 things and not just one.
Right.
So that is a hard thing for folks to grasp.
So flip the script on this a little bit. Do you sometimes find that if you are doing the work yourself, like the actual process, that helps reveal some other value to you that you can use for the organization? Like you've learned something in doing it that you wouldn't have if someone else had done it. And so the value comes a little bit unexpectedly of like, oh, now I see we could do this better. And the person that you might have delegated it to might not have seen it because they don't have the full view of what you do as the leader of the organization.
This is borderline controversial, but I'm a big believer in you try to do as much as you can yourself. And then when you want to scale, you delegate it out. Otherwise, you don't know those details, and you don't know necessarily, is this person, not that they're maliciously like taking too much time, or maybe they're just not really understanding the big picture and they're like in the weeds of the task, but they're not understanding what your goals are. So I would say it's really important for you to get as much in the weeds as you can and you're comfortable with. And that's essentially how I learned about like web development. It wasn't like I was this masterful coder. I would be really in the weeds and curious to be around like our CTO and other folks, and I would learn, but then I knew enough to say, okay, well, I know this is possible here, so why don't we do that? Versus some ambiguous like thing that someone wants done that isn't really either possible or feasible. I don't waste time doing that because I understand, one, what we're striving for, and secondly, like what is possible within a reasonable amount of time and money.
I think about this actually a lot in terms of, say you're in a brainstorming session and somebody's got these ideas and you want to bring all the ideas in, but because of your experience and talent, you just kind of intuitively know that's not going to work. right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to move on to the next thing. And it's like, you don't even want to take the time to explain why this isn't going to work. Do you have a recommendation in terms of management style or developing a team culture, not just on brainstorming stuff, but like where you can deliver an efficiency that provides that kind of objective point of view that everyone needs to have to kind of step back and go, is there a better way to do this thing that we know is important, or is this thing even important? Like, how do you imbue that with everybody?
I will say this, like, I am a much better leader than I am a manager, meaning I know what to do in that case. Like, you should ask questions so someone decides on their own that maybe they're heading down the wrong path. I don't do that, even though I know that good managers do that to build their people. I look at this as like we're in a race, and if I know something's off, I'm going to say that's off, and here's why, and let's think about it this way. And then I'll actually step back and say, like, do you understand though what the goals are?
Yeah.
Because if you understand it, you're not going to say those things. The reality is, like, you can get direction and just keep following that same direction. But if you don't know the goals of what you're trying to accomplish and you fully don't grasp it, it's going to be harder for you to make those determinations or to give yourself that autonomy to make better decisions. Because the reality is, like, I don't know all the answers to, I don't know half the answers to some of this stuff. So there's incredible amounts of room to grow or to finesse like an objective that we want to accomplish. But the reality is, like, if I'm seeing something go off the beaten path that's clearly not right, and I don't have like another person that could like go in and solve it, then I have to like just jump in there and say, okay, let's just keep going, and hoping in some ways that the person either gets it or maybe this is beyond the scope of this person's understanding and I have to bring someone else in.
Right. Take the team out of it. How do you approach the practice of like doing an assessment check on your goals? We've got a goal. This is our progress. We're measuring our progress towards that goal. But are you also going, when do I need to reevaluate these goals to make sure they're still the right goals?
Business, it comes down to revenue, profitability. And then I take one step backwards and it's like, okay, well, what drives that? Sales and gross margins. So at any given time, those are our goals. Those aren't changing in the sense of we know essentially where we need to be as a company to be a sustainable company. You have to like choose a path when you're starting a company. One is I'm going to be a company and this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be very static for an amount of time. And we're going to just really try to be as profitable as possible.
What do you mean static?
Meaning like you're not looking for like crazy growth. Maybe it's like a franchise, right? Franchises are pretty predictable. So you buy into a franchise, you kind of know where you're going to be at, but you also know you can't like top a certain number. It's just like impossible because of the amount of revenue that you could possibly make in a given day. Chick-fil-A, for example, like they're one of the most profitable franchises you can get, but they're very, very selective, but you know it's only going to top out. So what do franchises do? They buy another franchise because that's the only way to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really kind of look at the objective that you're trying to accomplish and then go after it.
Well, so take that back to the taproom example that you started with. Easy to sit back now and go, spending my time making pizzas was not the best use of my time when I could be going to close Costco or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Versus at the time, maybe there was nobody else to make those pizzas. It needed to get done. You knew that customer service was important. That was playing into the brand identity and what's this company all about and creating community. So the value maybe isn't as direct. It's going to pay off later, but at the time it's more like somebody needs to make sure the sound is working for the band.
And that's how we were, and now it's like, do we need to have sound for the band? If no one can do it, does it need to be done?
Right.
Can the band bring in their own sound? It's not to say we're not going to have music.
Right.
What can be done differently in the process? And that's actually what happened in our tap room is like, I couldn't be here every Friday and Saturday to like audio engineer a musician. It just like did not fuel me after a while. So I'm like, okay, either we can not have music, we can get someone else, which wasn't feasible, or they just bring in their own stuff. So they started doing that. And now it's kind of shifted where some other folks in the tap room have learned how to do this. And sometimes you have to take a stand and be like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. Even though we have a great setup for it, it's just not the best use of my time. It was back then. That doesn't mean I'm not going to help now and like dive in if I have to. It's just like, if that's my regular job duty and I'm an investor in Go Brewing and I'm like, what is Joe spending his time on?
I see.
And I hear that, I'm going to be disappointed because that is not driving any sort of return to the business.
Yeah.
I could be the best audio engineer in the world. Go Brewing is not an audio company,
Right.
right? Like we're
Right.
not, it doesn't matter.
You said something there that's kind of interesting, that it doesn't fuel you, right?
Mhm.
A lot of entrepreneurship and startup is maintaining that energy. And if you're just in the slog, you're going to start making bad decisions on everything,
Mhm.
So how are you giving yourself roles that are satisfying and fuel giving, but also driving value for the business?
As the CEO, you have to be the optimistic one. And it's a tough position sometimes because you're the only one that has this inherent knowledge of how fragile things are at all times. But you can't say that to anyone.
You just said it to
I
everybody.
just said it to everyone, but like it goes true for the business I created and I was successful at because, at any point in time, like things can shift the other direction. There's so many things that you can and can't control that can shift. And it's so fragile. And you're dealing with all of these things happening. You're dealing with cash and compliance and growth and investment and all of this stuff, right? Really, as a CEO, you have to manage those things first. For example, like I could be the best at everything, but if I don't have enough cash in the bank to pay employees, like business is going to go down pretty quickly. So you got to take care of that first.
Right.
You have to take care of making sure you have product. Like those are the main responsibilities. So whether or not I love that part of it, that's it. And that might mean like I get a chief operating officer and maybe they own some of that stuff, right? For now, it's like a lot of that stuff falls on me, but now we have better systems to manage things, to look at cash flow conversion. But when you start, you don't have anything. Like we didn't even know what we were going to make. So I remember someone who looked at the business 4 months in and they're like, yeah, your gross margins, I have concern about them. I'm like, we don't even know what beers we're going to make in 3 months. So you have no leverage with your suppliers to even get better
Yeah.
economics, right? So, but it didn't, for me, it didn't matter because I knew like we're going to figure that out. And then the good news is the message is here's our gross margin, but it can be improved in these ways over time because now we're starting to get leverage. Like we know we're going to buy X amount of hops. We know we're going to buy X amount of cans, and I can make decisions to put us in a better place to get better cost on those things. So you have to really just kind of take a step back and evaluate what you have to do. And then what I would say is if you're truly just like inept at some of these things, one, I would say like a CEO or a founder has to be good at a lot of different things. Now you could have a co-founder or you really have to like delegate that out quick. And I would recommend like if you're starting out is finding those co-founders. A good example of this was when I started Inspire. Like I knew enough tech to be dangerous, but some of the stuff we were getting into and being asked to do would really secure credit application systems beyond the scope of what I felt comfortable with. So I brought in a CTO. He was an equity partner and he filled a gap that I really didn't feel comfortable with. You have to take care of the basis first.
Yeah.
And then develop systems over time to get the things may not be good at or may not fuel you to just be easier.
Do you look at it as kind of like a triage, like each day, each week, month, quarter, whatever it is, going, what's critical, what's stable, what's like working well, and reevaluate?
Yeah, like every week we have a call regarding our weekly sales update and we look at trends, say how are we trending for the week? What can we do? What action can we take? Not just reports. I hate just, you have a report, that's great. It's kind of like you step on a scale every day, but if you're not going to do anything to take action on that, like what's the point? That's how I look at the business. So I don't look at it like I look at it at a macro level, say are we achieving our goals, but then I look at a weekly level of what can I do today to make a change? Because there's this amazing compounding effect about change where you can make a small decision today and over time it can make things a lot better, it can make things a lot worse. If you ignore it and you're like, okay, this is a bad month, I'm having a bad month. And then I decide in like next month to start like doing something different and it starts working. I just wasted that time. So I would say that you have to do what's right for you in terms of like how much you're looking at it. The business has a yearly goal and the yearly goal every week, we say how are we pacing that goal, divide that goal by 12 months and then we break it down by weeks and how are we pacing toward that goal. I mean, it's fairly simple and then starts with revenue, then it goes to gross profit, then net profit, and then cash flow, like those are really core metrics.
I had expected to really drill in on like time as a resource and understanding the value of that, but you said a few things in regards to process, making me think about the processes as a resource for the organization too. And there's probably some marriage there. Good process that has a lot of value is efficiently using your limited time resource. And that's going to change over time. There's this little element of like the value of your resources is going to ebb and flow too, depending on what the business is doing overall, right? Is that a framework that makes sense to you?
It's ever changing. What works today with a process isn't going to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example of something that happens. And sorry, these are all specific to like what I'm doing now, but I think people can apply these to really anything that they're doing. From a taproom perspective, I'm spending a lot of time on it. Same with my team. My team's spending a not appropriate amount of time to me on that because
On the taproom.
On the taproom. It's not to say the taproom's not important. And I love the fact that customers come in there. But again, if someone's looking at the business from the outside, our business model isn't to create a bunch of tap rooms.
Right.
It's we have this one tap room and it needs to be sufficient. So therefore, if I have this team and multiple people are doing tasks for this tap room, how can I get that off their plate? Well, we are constrained because we have payroll, and the way our payroll is constructed, we have to intervene there and we have to make sure we're paying everyone because the rules in this payroll system, we're not able to allocate like to the manager, hey, prove your employees' time here, prove everything. You submit the payroll for your employees. So the team was like, felt kind of stuck. Like, well, we can't change it anyway. And I'm like, let's change payroll providers. So we're literally changing payroll providers right now. We're going to launch October 1st because there's tech out there. There's no way we can't do it. We were limited by this. So when they saw that, they're like, oh, that's awesome. That's a great idea. That's a good example of like something that we would have kept doing the same thing because we were limited by these constraints that really weren't constraints. There were constraints in the system that we had, that we developed. And then the technology limitation existed, but I knew there had to be a better one. So we just found one in 10 seconds, like quick Google search. And it just so happens like our bookkeeper, and she has a lot of experience with this new system. And she's like, oh, I'm a partner. I could get it stood up immediately. And now we're already rocking on it.
I just love how like with you, there's this ethos of there's an answer out there. And so many people don't even try to find an answer. And it's like, there must be an answer. We're not the first ones that have the problem. Go find it.
And then the universe will say you're right. So what happened was Erin, who manages a ton of things, we all wear a ton of hats. But Erin like does events, she does some HR stuff. She's all over the place. She's like, well, what about our 401k provider? Like we need to make sure they're integrated in this new HRIS system. Literally, the next day we get an email and the company we're going with, Gusto, just acquired the 401k provider. And then our employee benefits,
right?
Guess when our employee benefits start for the year, October 1, and that's when we're moving everything over. It's like, so the universe will tell you, yeah, you're right. And, you know, you're not going to always be right. And the universe will say something else. But the reality is like, you got to look out for those signals. So now what would be at least 10 hours a week of taproom work now goes to providing enterprise value.
Anything else we didn't touch on that you want to bon mot drop here? Bon mot drop, make that a thing.
When I was talking about like, making a decision as a company, you could either be that static company or you could want to be a growth company. We're a growth company. For us, we have to get scale across the United States. We need to do that to accomplish our goals. That requires a ton of cash. And that's a different thing that you're doing. So everything I'm talking about is through that lens. If you're a coach and you're listening to this and you want to have a website and get people to sign up for that, it's totally different. That would be more of the other kind of framework of like, how you want to approach your business and what you want to charge. You're really looking at your time, but you're not looking to scale it like that. And a franchise is another thing. So there's all kinds of different businesses and there's no like right way to skin them all. I'm talking from a viewpoint of like, no matter what you want to build this growth engine that's going to have a multiple on it at the end. That's not going to be solely determined by myself. Meaning if you're a coach and you're selling your coaching business, it's really about you and your book of business. This is about the value of the brand that we're creating over time.